Nice.
Hey everyone, we are live. This is a new venture right now. This is going to be sexy time. Sexy time
Sexy
with
time.
old comic book veterans. A lot of gray hair and maybe some baldness.
And
I
so
don't
no
know.
hair too.
So how you guys been, man? This is going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Doing good. Doing good. Sexy time. Should I take my shirt off? You guys don't want to.
Must.
That'll be sexy pale time.
Andy, it's your call, man. We'll wait and
No,
see what
I'm
the
good.
chat has to say.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is a
also
non-judgmental zone, Andy. You can do what you like. We're not going to judge you.
Nice.
yeah,
At least,
do it.
at least not to your face.
All right,
I got it.
Hardwired. The joke's already started. Hardware Wars says bald lives matter. So.
He's
They
right.
do. They do.
He's absolutely right.
You know, I've been trying to lose my hair. It's just not happening.
Bastard.
Yeah. Well, if you really want to try, you can get a razor. That'll do it. It's
I've been
not that hard.
I've been doing Xavier bit like, oh, the hair's just not dropping out. How did you guys lose your hair? How did that happen?
I didn't. I just started shaving it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I mean, after the pandemic, when all the barbers were closed, yeah, I mean, it was creeping back, and I had a little crowning going on at the back there, and I was like, now it's growing all over the place because I used to keep a flat top, and then I just got sick and tired of waiting. I said, screw it, and I just went, and then took the razor to it and said, and I liked it, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. I thought I was going to have a really nasty looking head, but it ended up being a good looking head, so I just kept it.
Dude, you pull it off. I actually did something similar, but I was just gonna like crop it really low, right? And so I had the setting and I had it all pretty much done, right? And then the perfectionist in me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna clean it out. I'm gonna go one more time right over over the top, right? But I actually, when I put the setting back, I went lower than it was previously. And it went right down to the scalp. And then at that point, right, you just have to go.
You got to own it.
Yeah. And so I was the same way. Grandma's like, oh, there's going to be all kinds of dents because my parents were not nice to me. And, I've been brutalized as a child. So there's all kinds of dents and divots in here.
Right.
And I showed my daughter who was young. This was some years ago when she was young. And she's like, what did you do, Dad? Like she almost started crying. So it was pretty horrific. So some people can pull it off. Graham Nolan, Andy Smith can pull it off. This guy right here, not so much.
Yeah, I was in my mid-20s when I started losing it, and I actually used. We were talking about this on Ethan's channel. I was actually using Rogaine, and back then you only could get it through a prescription, and it works. I mean, Rogaine does work, but they tell you, and the doctor said, as soon as you stop losing it though, or using it, you'll lose it in like 3 months.
Really?
So you've got to keep up with it. So I was using it, and then after we got married, it was like $80 a month back then. So after we got married, I was basically like, "Do you really care?" Because $80 a month. She's like, "No, I don't care." So I stopped using it, and I did. I started losing it right here on the crown, so I can do the horseshoe thing. And then we moved to Florida, and I was like, "I just want to shave it. I just want to shave it." She's like, "I don't really want you to." And we were living near my buddy John Beatty, and John's like, "Come on, shave it. I want to shave your head so bad." So we went over to John's house one afternoon, and they lathered up, and I let John shave my head for the first time. And every now and then when I get lazy, I'll just let it go for, I think the longest I've let it go is like maybe 3 weeks, and then it's like, yep, time to shave it again.
So John Beatty is the one that shaved your head for the first time?
Yeah.
So now he's moonlighting as a barber.
He could. You would get this look every time though. So
I don't know, man. There's a lot of guys that are sporting that look and pulling it off. So
I know I was early to the curve, but now it's hit. So, but yeah. So I just
I was cursed with this.
Oh, shut up! You and John both, man. John's got a big.
Dude, you got hair coming out everywhere. Your nose, your chin, your head.
That's for sure.
That's the problem. I gotta literally shave my, and I don't care. This live stream. I literally, as you get older, I'm like, my God, I have to cut my nose hair more than I have to shave my head. This is ridiculous.
Oh,
I've got
I
that
thought you
little-
were going to go
that
somewhere
little
else. I
trimmer.
thought you were going to say you're going to
No.
start shaving your junk.
No, old school. Just
It's a family show.
No, he uses Nair
That's
for
right.
that.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
No,
man.
Nair can burn.
That'll burn your
Um,
anus.
That's right. Oh, no, I bleached that. Come on, Art.
Oh, my
right.
God.
I'll get-
This is going to be a
All
good
the
I'll get
film work
dirty.
you did.
I'll get dirty. I will
get-
get dirty.
telling
I
you
don't
right
mind.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of an experiment. Last week on Graham, it was last week, or was it earlier this week?
No,
Last week.
It was last
Yeah.
week. On Graham's show, he invited a bunch of us knuckleheads in, and we had a great time. So after the show, we all started talking about possibly a weekly show where we would host it on each one of our channels every week. So you guys threw me under the bus and said you do it first. So this is the experiment. This is the first episode. So as a cast of professionals, I think on the show it was you, Graham, it was Andy, it was me, it was Dan Fraga, Billy Tucci, and Aaron Lopresti, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we're going to do here as well. We all have crazy schedules, so I'm thinking that sometimes, it'll be all of us. Sometimes it might be 2 or 3, of us. Just depends on what our schedule is. But we would like to do it as a weekly thing. And one of the, I had a title that I thought was going to work, but then I realized it's not because all of us aren't boomers. So I was going to call the show "Booming Out Loud," and then Dan was like, "We're not all boomers." So.
Yeah, don't lump me in with you two. You two are boomers. This guy, no, I don't make that.
No boomer. Yeah. So what was it, like sexy time, or like what did Dan come up with?
Oh, I don't even remember.
It was what was it? It was sexy time with baldies and art.
There you go. Which is funny because when Dan shows up and Aaron shows up, we're all hair lacking, but not you, Art. You're the only one that
I think that's where the title. Yeah, I think that's where the title came from.
Yeah. So
it's like 4 baldies and a hairy and a baldy. Yeah.
That's right.
So this is a working title. So I'm thinking that maybe we could brainstorm and see what the chat says. Maybe the chat could actually name the show.
Come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
There you go.
So as we go along, if there's some good names you guys have for the show, and mainly what we're going to do is, since we all had a good time on Graham's YouTube show, we're just going to bullshit. We're just going to tell you guys about like fun comic book stories and things like that, and just have a good time. So that's kind of the premise. So you guys in the chat, if you guys have some names, then throw them out there.
Art, we could just go with the soap opera ripoff, The Bald and the Beautiful.
Ooh, the beautiful would be me.
Well, unfortunately, yeah.
However you see it. However you see it.
Well, I mean, if all of us are pretty much bald and he's not, he unfortunately gets that good title. But The Bald and the Beautiful.
Okay, well, we'll see what the chat has to say. Yeah.
Curly, and Mo.
And Mo.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm more of a shimp.
That's right.
So what we need to do first and foremost before we start getting into fun stories, and I only have you guys for an hour, so the time, we're all on the clock right now, but I want to show off Andy's. You got a live Indiegogo going right now, and so does Graham. So Andy,
we'll shameless self-promotion at first, and then we'll get into the fun stuff.
Yeah, you have the screen, so I'll just click on you.
The fun stuff.
This is
this is the fun stuff, exactly. What's going on? Are you sharing
you're gonna share your screen, with
no, I thought you were. I'm on my iPad.
Oh shit. Graham, are you prepared? Because I'll find Andy's while we're
I can
sorry about
I can
that.
do
I'm
it.
on my iPad. I'm not
no
you can tell from my background, I'm actually not even in my studio. I'm on the couch.
It's a beautiful nasal shot. It's a Gil Kane.
It's a Gil Kane. I know. I need to do this. But then my arms would get tired. My baby arms would get tired.
How do
There should be a thing that says share.
There it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Graham, you got the spotlight here with Alien Alamo.
Okay, yeah, this is my second project under my Compass Comics banner, and this is a sci-fi western. It takes place in 1957, and Travis Houston is a World War II vet who can't relate to his son. He's seen too much in the Pacific, and it scarred him, and he's having trouble relating to his kid until this meteor shower comes, bringing these aliens and war into his backyard. And it's that war and that shared combat that will bring him and his son together again as they try to save the world from these aliens on their ranch, which is called the Alamo.
Oh, very cool.
So here's the video. It's really cool.
Graham, you should go full screen with it.
Full screen it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did that do it?
Yeah. The drawing is brilliant, my friend. Like, this is like Alex Toth type level here.
Thank you, brother.
Fat beats.
Here comes my favorite part. The burn through.
Oh, yeah.
That's very cool.
That is sweet, my friend. I like your Compass Comics logo as well. The animation on that was brilliant.
Thank you. I had Nick Gross do this for me. He did my Chenu video as well. And one of the things I was talking to him about, I said, hey, I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Thing from Another World. And I love how it transitions into the title sequence where it burns through. And I said, can we do something like that to kind of give it that 50s sci-fi thing? And he nailed it, you know. He really killed it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great people hanging out in Comicsgate right now. Not just, you know, artists and writers, but there's all kinds of support and people like your friend doing the video and all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah, this is great. So this is the second or third day. This is the start of the third day, right?
This is it started Tuesday at noon. So yeah, we're into the third day now.
The third day. Yeah, you're doing gangbusters, my friend.
yeah. It's I've already busted through 3 stretch goals.
Nice.
So it's doing really well. One of the things, you know, I think people were really pleased with what they got with the Chenu, with the quality of it, and how I ran the campaign, and so they came back for it. And plus, what I'm trying to do with this publishing arm is to not do sequels. I want to do standalone stories, but I want to interconnect them together so that they form a complete tapestry. It all takes place in the same world. So even in the Chenu, the first one, I mentioned Joe Frankenstein in that because that was a creator-owned project. So that's part of that world. In Alien Alamo, at the end of it, you're going to see how it connects to the Chenu. And then the third book really connects them all together. That one's called The Ghosts of Matacumba Key. And a character from the Chenu is going to be the star of that one. And a character in Alien Alamo is going to be present in that as well. And so all these things are going to interconnect and basically funnel into a big finale.
That sounds great. So 26,550, 428 backers, 28 days left. This is only the third day, you guys. So get in there, and you know Graham's going to deliver. He's a comic book veteran. We're both pushing like 40 years in this industry. So
yeah,
he gets things done. That's 80 years if you combine the two of us. Yeah, so get on that. I'm actually writing some of these names down. You guys are on fire in the chat. I think I Borrow Ideas has for like a name for the show, the Life Alert Hour.
What was it?
The Life Alert Hour.
Oh,
come on!
I take my bracelet off when I go to
I've
bed.
fallen down and I can't get up over that one.
Oh, nice. Dude,
yeah.
Life Alert Hour. None of us are that old. Come on.
Well, not yet. We're working on it.
Yeah, you hit a digit that Graham and I won't hit for a few more years. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Leroy.
You leave the realm of 5 in front of your first digit this year. So.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, we got Dan Fraga. So
there he is.
There he is.
There it is.
There it is.
Hold on, man. I forgot my glasses, man. I should have thrown my glasses on.
Right. You know, you guys are inspiring me to shave my head.
Yeah. Well, you have all that beautiful hair, though.
How many razors will that take, Art?
To shave my head?
Yeah. How many razors to shave that head? That Brillo pad of yours?
It would take a while. Yeah. There'd probably be all kinds of gashes and cuts and everything.
There always is on the first try.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you get used to it.
I raised my glass.
There?
What are you drinking, Dan?
It's a bourbon. It's called Fiddler. It's out of Atlanta. It's a 58.1%, which comes in what 106.2. 116.2 per proof. So it's fiery.
Yeah.
So there's a little fire in your belly tonight. I thought it was Metamucil.
No. I leave that. I leave that to the
bourbon, I gotta say.
Yeah, I leave that to those with hair. You know.
That's right.
What are you talking about, Fraga?
Hey man, I know you.
We're anti-follicle, Art. We're anti-follicle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Follicle
exactly.
How you gentlemen doing tonight? How's that alien Alamo doing? I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to be a day one backer.
Well, thank you.
I'm excited for that wraparound. That's the one I got. I got that wraparound. Excellent. No knock on anybody else, but Graham, I like your stuff a lot.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I do have to ask, Graham, because most of the books that I've been doing through Indiegogo are square bound. Can you square bound a wraparound?
Sure.
Oh, that's
you just have to build in. You just have to factor in when you do the proportions, the spine width.
Binder.
And then kind of design that the name. There's still going to be the title that's going to be in the spine, right? Or
probably not.
It out?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a wraparound, no. Because did you hit the stretch goal to where it's perfect bound now?
No.
Was that? Oh, you didn't. Okay.
Mm-mm. No, that's further down the road.
You hit the color. What were the stretch goals you hit? You hit color. I remember that. And what were the other
collector
ones?
Card.
Right.
And color.
Okay, we got a new title. Oh, I'm sorry. We got a new title.
Okay, you guys, this is technically the bunny suit's still on. I just wanted you to feel surrounded, Art.
That's right.
Now, if we get Aaron in here, we can get Art in the center and then all bald heads around him.
That's right. That'll keep legit to the title.
Well, as soon as Billy comes in, we're going to blow that. Well, that'll still be kind of symmetry, sort of.
Yeah, man. And then he's going to have his lovely lady with him, so we have to behave. You know.
No, that's tomorrow night, I think.
That's tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Good time.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah,
hey,
are
you guys fans? Well, you guys are old. But look at this.
Go.
Look at what I picked up on eBay.
I remember those.
1981, unused. I spent a lot of time doing this, and then I don't know how you guys are John Byrne fans. Everybody here is a John Byrne fan. I tracked down the very first comic he ever bought. Right, it was a Superman Adventure book number 5 from 1956. He was 6 years old. He said he bought it in England. This was really difficult to find, but I found it.
Oh yeah. I love that cover. I love that.
It's a great cover. It's black and white reprints. It's sort of a yearbook, 56, 57. Yeah, it's a hardcover. I mean, this one's beat up, and it was not, like I said, not easy to find.
You got it off? Did you get it off eBay?
No, I found it on Amazon. Here's what I did. I knew that John Byrne grew up in the UK. I knew that this was a British reprint. Yeah. And I just typed in Amazon.uk and looked for it because it wasn't here. But I found it. And I don't know, like to any layman, they're like, it's just an old Superman. But to know that this is like something that ignited the fires. You know, I had Roy Thomas on a couple nights ago.
Yeah, you did.
And you know, got to know him a little better. The thing that really excites me about him is he's like us. He's a fan that went and did his thing and wrote letters and created sort of the fan culture. And of course, I had to, you know, track down and digitally found all the letters that he wrote. You know, like Green Lantern. He wrote a letter in Green Lantern #1 back in 1960. He was a wee 19 years old. You know, dear editors, I think it would be a good idea if, and you're like, holy shit, that's Roy Thomas. You know? Yeah. So yeah, I like finding anything I can on the histories of these guys to find what they liked. And he said he was a big all-star comics guy. And Alter Ego had started over their love for All-Star Comics. So I had to look it up. You know, I mean, it's
Alter Ego is the magazine, right?
Oh yeah, man. I collect those.
Magazine, yeah.
I did that with Jerry Bales, right?
He did. Jerry Bales and another guy named Ron, and then Bill something or other came in to do some editing on it as well. But yeah, I mean the history on that stuff is fantastic, and the more and more I deep dive into the history of this thing of ours, the more happy and excited I am to be part of it, and consider you guys comrades in this thing. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We're all handing stuff down, you know, and just like it was to us. I think we're probably one of the more interesting generations because you know, there's a lot of talk about comics extinction right now. So, you know, we're all kind of pushing, going in different directions, you know.
The comics that are alive and well right here.
That's right.
You know. They're extinct in the mainstream because they got squeezed by big money, you know, like the thing I talk about with my guys, like Graham I just got to give big love to Graham for setting me on a course. But like I've been studying Marvel of the 60s, Marvel of the 70s, Marvel of the 80s. And of course, now that I've really been getting into the alter ego stuff, things DC. I was not a DC kid. I was a Marvel zombie growing up. So all of that stuff I had no idea about. But the more I learn about it, the more parallels I see with this thing of ours, this thing that we're doing, that everybody's part of. The chat is part of it. We're part of it. We're keeping something alive. The thing that was the things that we loved, Foom and a lot of the things that the early fanzines covered. You read about that stuff, and that energy feels like us. Right. But when you get a Warner Brothers or a Disney chewing this thing up and saying, no, this is a soapbox for, and no, this is this, and everything is it. Guys, I worked at Mattel, and I watched things get like amazing ideas just get wrung out till by the time it was audience facing, they got a drop of what it could have been.
Right.
Right.
And that's what comics are today. They're my wife likes that drink LaCroix. I don't know if you guys ever had it. It's a flavored water.
It is, yeah.
But she always says it's the whisper of a flavor from another room. Like that's her joke about LaCroix. Like it tastes like a whisper of a flavor from another room. That's what mainstream comics are now. They're a whisper of a flavor in another room. Right. We are the pure uncut. And that's what's very, very exciting.
Yeah, the street stuff. This is
the street stuff.
Yeah, we're street.
We're uncut, man. This is raw.
Yeah.
This is Drew with Comics Elite. Thank you for the $4.99. I promoted the Chenu during our Comics Elite Top 10 picks a few weeks ago on our YouTube channel. Love it, and I can't wait for Alien Alamo.
Awesome.
You got yourself a fan there, Graham. So that is
Thank you,
great. Hey,
Appreciate
before we go any further, let's put the spotlight on Andy. I promised that we would show Andy's campaign. So I do have a tab for you, Andy. So I'm going to click on that. And then,
wait, is that the pink can artificial beverage?
No, that's Fanta. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's Fresca.
Fresca.
I love Fresca.
Don't you want?
It's refreshing.
It has to be
refreshing.
So First Man should be up on everybody's screen. So Andy, you have the spotlight, man.
First Man, a 64-page, perfect bound, square bound. That is graphic novel that kind of mixes my love of Shazam and Jim Starlin's Captain Marvel cosmic stuff, where you have young college freshman Luke Henry, who is imbued with this great power. Little does he know that Monarch is coming to collect on that and get that power, because he's collecting all of these essences that are spread throughout the universe. And Penumbra, the female back there, she is working her own agenda because she has a special tie to that essence that inhabits Luke Henry. So it's kind of what I call, you guys remember in the 80s and 70s and even, 60s and stuff, reading comics, the thing that struck me the most was out of a 21-page story, just for easy math, there were 20, 21, whatever. It always seemed like, say, a Superman comic, you'd have roughly, say, 7 pages of Clark Kent and 14 pages of Superman cool stuff. Not that the Clark Kent stuff wasn't cool, but you know what I mean. It was that kind of breakup, because you're buying a Superman comic, not a Clark Kent comic.
Right.
Same with Spider-Man. Spider-Man, you get the Peter Parker stuff for a third chunk, it seemed like, and then 2/3 was, Spider-Man adventure. And it would break it up, so it wasn't just, here's 7 and here's 14. But that's kind of what I remember of how the stories were broken up back then, and that's kind of what I tried to do with this. So there's Luke Henry stuff in it, obviously, to establish the character and whatnot. But a good majority of it is the adventure of him when he's in the Apollo First Man guys and having to deal with this Monarch character coming down to try and take the power from him, and also with Penumbra. So it's a 64-page, like I said, it's a standalone story. Hopefully after this one, my plan is to do a second campaign with Volume 2 to continue the adventure. The 64-page comic is also going to have a bio page for each of the main 4 characters, kind of like the Marvel Universe stuff from the 80s.
Right here?
Yep. Each one's going to have one of those. I only showed one in the campaign.
I love that, man.
I love those.
Dude, that is part of my personal history, is the Marvel Universe. I love this.
Same
stuff.
here.
You know,
going to a drugstore.
Andy, it looks like you were channeling Joe Rubenstein with the inks here.
He inked so many of those.
Yeah, he inked the majority of all that stuff, yeah.
But, here's the funny thing. When we get into the story part of the show, I can actually say that when I was learning how to ink, I remember meeting a professional artist at a convention when I was like 15, and they said, inking-wise, a good way to learn how to ink is to put tracing paper over printed comics of the inking style that you like and trace it. Look at it, try to figure out if you're using a brush or a pen, and then just trace it. And as you're tracing the lines, try to think about, why are they putting the rendering lines here? What are the rendering lines supposed to indicate and express? So that's what I did, and I did it over Joe's stuff because I just loved Joe's ink so much as a kid. And I always thought he used a brush, so that's what I used. Then when I met Joe later on, he's like, "Oh no, I use the pen."
Really?
I was like, "Oh, okay."
I always thought Rubenstein was a brush guy. Like looking at the burn cap stuff, that had a very brush look to it.
It's a pen.
That's interesting.
That is
it's weird because everybody learns differently, you know. Like when Art and I were at Extreme, and I had to take on inking my own work, I asked Danny and Norm about how to become a better inker, and their advice was completely different. They were talking about drills, you know, which was like, you know, spend 20 minutes doing fades, spend
I did that too, yeah.
another 20 minutes doing contours, like making a sphere look round with volume, but you know, that sort of thing, like with a light source. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, no, I did that too. And I do want to talk more about that, but while we're here still, so we've got the program book, which is a 40-page secondary book, and that's stapled like a regular comic. And it basically highlights, I've got different artists that drew their renditions of First Man. And that's about, there's probably 14 of those. I didn't show them all here. And
my favorite one is the Kevin Nolan, man. I'm a big Kevin Nolan guy.
Everybody loves that Kevin Nolan one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, the rest of the book is going to be layouts and concept sketches and things like that, behind the scenes stuff. I created Monarch's spaceship, for instance, using the 3D program SketchUp. So I'm going to show the 3D model in the book and stuff as well.
That's cool.
And then there's some art tiers, you know, head sketch tier, figure sketch tier. So yeah, so that's what it is, and it's 17 days to go. It's met its funding goal, but we're just trying to get the next stretch goal is 15,000, and that gets a 4x5 magnet.
Awesome.
So Andy, on your refrigerator.
So Andy, are you going to be drawing the sketches right in the book on the last page? Is that what this is?
Yeah, that's the plan. But I've had a couple people ask me if they could have them separate and not in the book. So basically, I'm just going to let the people choose. And if they want them separate, they'll be the same size. So whatever a comic book is basically 7x10. So they'll be the same size as the book. But if somebody wants it on a separate sheet of paper, so it's not actually in the book, I mean, that's fine. It's one half dozen other at that point, you know. I'm still drawing it. So,
right.
So yeah.
But it's always interesting because you got to get a good quality paper. So whatever that cover stock is going to have to be inkable. So that's always the challenge.
Well, that, you know, one of the things that I wanted to do, I watched Ethan's very first stream, the first campaign, the Blood Honey stream, and I remember talking to him and him saying, like, man, it was kind of crazy having to do all these sketches in the book, and I thought, you know, when your book's at the printer, you could be doing all the sketches on something else. You know, So when I offered my sketches, I was like, you know, 5x7 Fabriano artistical paper. That way, when this is going on, I can handle this over here. You know,
yeah, that's how I did black and white. I did black and white like that. I did 9x12 Bristol board drawings separate from the book because I did think, you know, it's better quality paper. And that you can multitask, like you're saying, Dan, so you don't have to wait for the books to come back. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like remarks. I don't like drawing over the cover, and I don't really like drawing in a comic book because it's always kind of unwieldy. It's kind of unmanageable.
It's hard. And I don't know how many of you guys have done. Yeah, that's nice.
I left a space on the inside front cover for remarks.
Yeah, I did the same thing with the grave. You know, you leave an area for it, but you got to be ready for it. You know, so it's weird because one of the very first sketch covers that I have in recent memory is the Gen 13 when they came out with all those 13 covers back in 1995.
Oh yeah.
And I get those, got those at conventions every now and then, and they scared the hell out of me because it was very unforgiving paper. The ink would not dry. It didn't matter what ink you used on it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and then at some point, people got wise. You know, like I had the ones that I really enjoyed. Whenever I'd get like a Punisher sketch cover, I'm like, oh, thank God. Because whoever put that one together considered, you know, materials. so that anytime anybody does any sort of sketch cover stuff, that's it definitely something to concern yourself with.
Okay, we have some new names for the show. So we have Hats and Halos. We have The Mob is Alive.
Yeah.
And there's a super chat here somewhere. I got to find it. CE for $5. Oh, there it is. Comics Exposed. Thank you so much for the super chat. This live stream has a lot of chrome domes. Grams delivered. Andy's got his book already done. So where's my black flag, Fraga? Where?
Get hopefully you got your update. The update went out yesterday. Running behind, a lot of unforeseen factors happening to make the book go the way it is. The 0.5 is almost done. The book itself is chugging along the way. My day job, the 4 kids that are in virtual school at home, have slowed things down considerably. Those are things that, back in March, I had no idea would be going down. 4 kids at home will slow you down. So the book is coming along, but check for your update. There's some really good stuff in there and some new information. So take a look at it.
Okay. Somehow I think Troutman missed the intro. Andy Smith said he would take off his shirt. So we can bring this up a notch.
Wait, how many shirts does he wear? Oh, no. See, if there were a couple of shirts on, I'd be like, done.
Yeah.
There's no T-shirt under this baby.
Yeah.
It's all raw steel.
It's pure Andy.
It's not steel. It's
all right,
raw.
Man. First Man looks great, Andy. Everybody
Thank
go
you.
out, check the book. I'm sorry I did not put you guys your links in the description. I will do that in the future, and I'll make sure that we all get a plug that way as well. So
last time we gathered at Art's place.
That's right.
Can't even put the goddamn links in.
I didn't see a link when we went on your show, Graham.
But it wasn't about that.
Well, maybe this isn't about you either.
It's always about me.
Maybe it's about Dan. Maybe it's about Billy.
Yeah. Let's make fun
tomorrow
of Billy.
night.
He's not here.
Yeah, Billy's not here. Yeah, Billy's going to close out his campaign tomorrow night, right?
Right.
Yep.
I hope that whatever Billy's hunting, he's making the finest of jerkies. Like anytime anybody is hunting gamey shit, like if they're like, man, I killed some deer, I'm like, make me some jerky. Like I'm all about that. Like jerky is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's with you, man. She loves jerky.
Really?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome for Billy's jerky, or like Comicsgate's, own or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, when he said he went out,
or is this just something you want, Dan?
Say what?
Is Billy actually making jerky, or is this just something you want?
It's something I want. I follow all you guys on the social medias, and like I see the pictures, and and sometimes I'm like, I see a picture of Billy, hunting, and he's got his kill, and I'm like, jerky, like jerk that shit
Just
out, bro. Yeah,
jerk that shit out. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Jerk it out, bro.
Billy, jerk it out, man. Just not
Jerk it out. Well, hey, if Ted Nugent can do it, then Billy Tucci can do it.
Yeah,
that's true.
You guys,
Billy, I think wasn't Ted Nugent's logo? He's on the back of a buffalo, and he's got a like a bow.
Yeah. I had a weird wildlife thing happen to me today. When what's up, Mr. Lopresti?
It's the Bald Show.
Yeah, exactly. This
is a bald show.
This is 80% bald.
Yep.
No, I went into. I have a room in my house where I record music, and I have a green screen set up. And every now and then, every couple weeks, I have to pat the tape down because there's to make it seamless. And I'm patting it down, and I hear sort of squee sound, and I thought maybe some pipes had was leaking. It was like a real weird sound, and then it sounded more organic, and I'm like, that's not a leaky pipe. That's an animal. So I actually pull the tape back and I peel the green screen back, and there's a bat
No way.
Yes, there's a bat. It's on Facebook. I posted it on Facebook. There's a bat coiled up against the wall in between the green screen. So I call my stepson. I'm like, yo, Chance, get your ass in here. And he's like, what? I said, don't freak out, but there's a bat right here. I need you to hold this. So we got it, got him in a bucket, took some video because it's a weird story and you want to confirm it. So you got to video that shit. And then we let him go.
Now Chance has rabies.
No, man. We made sure we kept it. Gloves, no contact, no rabies, no COVID.
Dan was afraid because because criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot.
That's right.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
I shall become a bat, Father.
Right. How are you, Aaron? How are you, dude?
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm actually supposed to be. I thought I was doing this other guy's show at 5:30, but it doesn't start till 6. And I'm like, okay, well, dude, I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to go do over here, and then I go back over there at 6.
You killed your goatee. Nice. Your goatee is gone.
No, it's still there. It's just it's very, very light.
It's very light. You could dye them,
See, you can see some of the gray there.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, man. You gotta keep that going.
So is the idea when it leaves here, it has to go here? Is that
no? Mine is ears and back.
Yeah,
that's what Grandma was saying earlier.
Balance.
Mine's nose, baby. Nose. I got to get up there every couple days.
This is. I can see the fans leaving in droves over this conversation.
I know, right?
Anybody under the age of 50 has left.
Oh my God, this is the old man channel.
This is not sexy.
It's combined. What do they say? If I can't fuck a 10, I might as well fuck 5 2s.
So wait,
here we are. Here we are.
I kind of thought I was a 3.
Yeah, man. Well,
damn, son.
Whatever keeps us going. Whatever keeps us going.
Saying, Andy, you want one of us right now?
No. I said I was a 3.
At the wrong time.
You came in at the right time, Aaron.
Oh, I don't know.
You did.
I don't know.
Did.
Well, while Dan's having his Metamucil, does anybody want to talk about like their first comic book experience? Like, what was your first title? What was it like, working on your first comic book? I thought that it would be fun to, have us tell our stories. So if we go in order, I guess Andy would be first.
First, Andy and I got to leave shortly, so why don't we
burn them out? First monthly book, just to make it instead of first job, let's go with first monthly books. I think we've all worked on monthlies. My first monthly book was Quasar. I got it probably a year after I graduated the Thibert school, maybe a little under a year, because I started at DC, but it wasn't monthly stuff. So it was Quasar, and it was work with Mark Grunwald. And I mean, Mark Grunwald was just a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
And he worked plot style. So Mark worked plot style, old school Marvel, where basically a 20-page book could be printed out onto like 5 pages of, copy, 5 pages would be a 20-page book, because it was just these little paragraphs for each page. And he could fit easily 5 pages on one, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And it was great, and it was definitely good going to the Thibert school, because that's kind of how Joe would teach. So even though the stuff I got at DC was full script, when I went to Marvel and I just got this plot thrown in front of me, I was prepared for it. It wasn't like, shit, what do I do with this? You know what I mean? And it's funny how things come around, because then, that was 1992. You fast forward to, it's like 2010 or 11, and I got a couple issues of X-Men Forever to work with Chris Claremont. Graham, you did those too. Ooh. And the editor's like, now Chris works plot style. Do you know how to do that? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. He was so like, do you know how to do plot style? Can you handle that? And I was like, yeah. My first job at Marvel, the editor, obviously wasn't at Marvel when I was there back in '92. I don't know when he started, but he's like, "Can you do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I actually prefer working that way. So this will be a dream working with Chris and working plot style."
Do you like a better like a plot breakdown versus full script?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do too, because it gets annoying if you get a writer that doesn't really know the left to right rule and there's a heavy dialogue page. And then all of a sudden, you got to always have the guy speaking first on the left-hand side and so on and so forth. And if you get it with a writer that doesn't really know that rule.
Continuity issues. I worked on a project where a guy, the writer had a character jump out of the window of a castle, and then we have a scene and we cut to another scene of these characters that are below where that person jumped. There's a whole bunch of dialogue, and then suddenly the person that jumped shows up, and you go, well, were they floating for 8 pages?
Right.
Yeah, we call that cow, convenience of writer.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I follow the Will Eisner rule, and that is, once the script leaves the writer's hand, the story belongs to the artist. And so I will change or do whatever's necessary to tell the story clearly and excitingly, but still maintain the intent of what the writer's trying to get across.
Yeah,
I don't ask, I just do. Yeah,
I changed the Lin Wein ending of a Human Target story. By the way, side note, I was working with Lin Wein and Dick Giordano. Dick was inking my pencils.
Whoa.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It never saw print. I still have two of the 2 issues here. But I changed the ending, and I just did it like you said, Graham. But I didn't do it because of any rule. I did it because I was ignorant, and I just did it. And then the editor was like, "You changed the ending," and I go, "Yeah, is that okay?" And he goes, "It's better than Lynn wrote." And I go, "Oh no!" And he goes, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." So it actually stayed. So that's when I started learning that it is more collaborative. Like you can add to the story, and if you have a good editor or if it's a good idea, they'll back you on it. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. What was your first monthly book, Graham?
Yeah.
First monthly book was The Prowler for Eclipse Comics.
Oh, really? See, I thought it was one of the. What did you do first at DC? The Atom or Hawkworld or?
Doom Patrol.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Wow! See, for some reason I kept thinking the Atom. I didn't even realize you did stuff for Eclipse.
I did like 3 issues of Doom Patrol, and then I did Power of the Atom, and then I did Hawkworld.
I remember the Power of the Atom. I don't remember your Doom Patrol. Who wrote the Doom Patrol stuff?
Paul Kupperberg. We finished it out just before Richard Case and
was it Morrison?
Morrison, yeah. Morrison took it over and changed things. So we closed out the classic Doom Patrol, and then they did their kind of upgrade or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So, but my first comic book work was actually assignments for the Kubert School that Sal Amendola bought for New Talent Showcase. He was the talent coordinator at DC, and he bought 2 of my classroom assignments to run in that book. So that was my first sale.
I like.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that started on that New Talent Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how about you, Aaron? What was your first book?
Well, let's see. I was doing. Marvel had a humor book back in the early 90s, late 80s called What The?
Oh, yeah.
It just good stuff. Superb.
They created their own characters. And I pitched them the idea of letting me bring back Forbish Man, right? Who is like the
oh, no way.
Yeah. And for Not Brand X back in the late 60s, their humor book back then. And he was kind of like the Alfred E. Newman of the Not Brand X. And I wanted to bring him back. And so I started writing, penciling, and inking Forbish Man adventures. It wasn't every month, but it was about, every other issue. And the cool thing about it was those were pretty heavy royalty days. But since it was an anthology book, they didn't pay royalties on it, right? So we got rate and a half for everything.
Oh.
Okay.
When I was penciling, inking, writing, penciling, and inking, I mean, they were only 10-page stories, but still, you're getting rate and a half for 3 jobs. It was a great paying gig. And after that, I was supposed to take over She-Hulk, but John Romita Sr., I think, was the art director at the time, and he was like, "No, this guy's not ready." And he was right, I wasn't, but I was still pissed about it. And that's when I ran into Dave Olbrich and Tom Mason at a show.
Malibu.
Yeah, and they said, "Hey, do you want to come over to Malibu?" And to give you an idea, I was making $85 a page was my page rate at Marvel. They came in and offered me $135 a page, and I was like, "Duh, yeah, I'll do that." And so basically, Sludge was actually my first real monthly book that I did for Ultraverse, and it was really cool because I did a lot of spot jobs for Marvel, like Spider-Man backups and stuff like that, and I felt so much pressure. I felt like every job I did would be my last if I didn't do like the best job ever. And my work really suffered. And so I was actually doing lousy work because I was putting so much pressure on myself and second guessing myself. And so when I got to Malibu, they were just kind of like, "Yeah, do whatever you want." And it was just like this liberating feeling. And I was able to, I told the stories the way I wanted to tell them. I did the storytelling the way I wanted to. I did some interesting things with the storytelling. And of course, Gerber was always late on the script. So I ended up writing several issues as well. And so it was just, it was like being a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. And it just worked out really well and kind of got me rolling. Where at Marvel, I just felt like I was in concrete. So I just felt this enormous pressure that I was just going to get canned every other job, which I did. I got canned twice. I went back begging and did new samples. And like, "Okay, these look better. We'll give you another shot." And then this sucks. Wow. That was pretty traumatic, actually.
What year was that, Aaron?
Well, I went to Malibu in '93. So I started doing What the Stuff maybe in '91.
Okay.
And then, so I did that. And then I was doing like Spider-Man backups and things like that. I did a backup story in the Black Hologram Spider-Man 365.
Wow.
And then I did a backup in 275, which was the Venom gold foil. Those things paid enormous royalties. And I actually penciled and inked both stories that I did in both of those issues. So I got double royalties, even though it was just a smidgen. Those books sold 1 million copies.
Yeah, that's big.
So I got, like,
big stuff.
some
That's
decent
cool. Yeah,
royalties.
Does everybody remember their first page rate?
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I do actually.
What was your first page? Well, how much?
Let's answer this question first and see. Do you guys read the books after you leave to see what the next guys do, or do you just move on? For me, I just move on. Move on.
Move on.
I just move on.
I don't even read the books I draw. Once I've read the script, it's like, the heck, I don't even know what happens. I look at the art and see how it turned out, and if the colorist did a good job, then I close it, and that's move on.
That's pretty much what I do too.
I'll take a look. I'll be the guy that takes a look. I'll take a look because I want to make sure that I stunted a motherfucker. It's a rap thing. No, because you want to drop a mic, you want to be like, yeah, and you want to make sure that your wasn't like lame. Like if someone that follows you isn't, is at least in your own opinion as great as you are, you kind of feel good about it,
Oh yeah, you always want them to come in worse.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's fucked up. It's fucked up because we love each other, but at the same time, we're all competitors.
Oh yeah. Right. When you get a jam piece brought to you at a convention, the first thing you do is, or somebody's sketchbook. First thing.
I go through.
And you go,
okay,
that's the one I got to beat right there. And you,
okay,
it's the best thing ever, especially if you actually nail it and you're like,
yeah.
So what was your question, Graham? Before
everybody's first page rate, I'll start $45.
Okay,
pencils, you're old. That's what that says.
For pencils, it was $45.
And gas was 35 cents, Aaron.
Well, wait.
So
what year was that?
I don't want to know what Dan's was. Dan's was probably.
I didn't have a page rate. That's the weird thing, is a lot of people have all this sort of mythos about me and have never asked me straight up. In fact, I was paid $125 a week, and with the promise of a specific royalty. So when I was doing the book, I was making a stipend, almost like a per diem.
Wow.
I was making $125 a week. Well, I was living at Rob's house.
Your overhead was met. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's answer the question. We can go into, my first work, but because it's tied into this answer. But I was making $125 a week with a promise of a certain royalty.
I was up there with Graham. We were both, nailing it. I think mine was like $37 or something like that per page. But this is 92. Or no, 82, I should say.
Yeah,
82.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mine was 83.
Yeah.
So
what was yours, Aaron?
85. Mine was 85, but that was 90.
Okay.
Mine was 90.
When I started getting $70 a page, I was like, holy shit, I died and went to heaven.
No, mine was 90 at DC, and then at Marvel, I think it was 100.
Woo!
And that was like 92. Well, it was
that
10 years. It was almost 10 years different. So,
but also those were the salary days. The whole 90s decade was pretty, especially the early 90s, was pretty damn good for most everybody.
Oh yeah, they were throwing money around back then.
Yeah. So what was your first book?
My first series, I don't want to say monthly because it did not come out monthly, but it was a series. It was Bloodstrike for Image Comics. It's kind of weird because it was one of those strange situations. I don't want to call it monkey paw because I'm grateful for everything, right? Everything has been amazing. I broke into comics 6 months out of high school, got hired by Rob Liefeld to work at Extreme. When I got there, though, there was no work. There was actually no work. The book that I was supposed to have done, which was called The Odd, which was sort of a Rob Liefeld version of The Wizard of Oz, didn't happen. So when I got there, it was like sharpen pencils, do whatever. So I ended up working at the local comic book store. I had done some pages on my own, which ended up being sort of drawn over to become Youngblood Zero. From that job, I got Bloodstrike. But much like you, Andy, like this, I didn't go to school, but I was self-taught, and I learned everything I could from How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way and from Will Eisner's book. Right, those were the seminal things, especially the small town I came from. So my understanding was you would get a Marvel style plot and you would imagine what it looked like and you would draw it. My first job was via layouts. Okay, so and they were great layouts. I find Rob Liefeld's layouts to be top notch. He's a student of Kirby, especially if you look at his earlier work. There's a real design to his stuff. So I was given layouts. My first few issues of Bloodstrike, I was given layouts and was told to adhere to them. And it was really interesting. I had never got an outside view. I have a saying that I like to share with people called, "It's hard to read the label when you're in the jar," right? Like it's a good saying, right? It's hard to read the label when you're in the jar. And the jar I was in was, wow, I broke into comics and I wanted to get into comics because I have a voice. I have an idea of things I want to say. And here I'm getting my dream job, but I'm getting handed layouts from someone who I admire, respect, and actually, Rob, I consider Rob one of my influences, but my sensibilities were strictly aesthetic, right? So like, it's like draw the way you draw, but over this. So I felt kind of, I don't know, much like what Aaron was saying, as far as that sort of self-doubt thing, it was like, fuck, this is like, there are certain perspective things and like different things that I was fighting with, like that doesn't work. But it I don't know. It was like a constant struggle.
I have to ask you, I've never asked you this, that Bloodstrike book, there was a lot of hype on that. Like that was going to be a big book at the studio. Did that influence you at all?
Hey, I got to take off. I'm so sorry, you guys. If you're still
man. Good to see you.
But I got to roll.
Yeah, go do your show, man.
All right,
go do your show.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
I got room too, guys.
But the
all right, are you going on a Bancroft's?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, tell him I said hi.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
tell
do.
him hi. I was on his show earlier in the week.
Give him some love and tell him that Vegemite sucks.
Fair enough.
All right.
I'll see you, fellas.
See you, dude.
Beautiful.
It is.
Man, he was on. I went on. He said Michael Bancroft, right? His show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on his show earlier in the week, but it wasn't until 11:00 at night. Graham got an early slot. What the hell?
Yeah, he must like him better.
What was your question, Art?
Oh, I asked you because I never, because that Bloodstrike book, the issue 1, that was hyped, man. That studio was like, they were all behind that book. So I always wondered, like, that was one of your first outings, and how much pressure did you feel?
I didn't feel so much pressure from that aspect of things. I was very excited to be there. I had the luxury of youth. Like I said, I had just graduated high school. But there was that, like I said, there was this fight of sensibilities. Like, I don't necessarily draw a torso that way. I don't draw arms that way. And I didn't quite, like, they say youth is wasted on, or youth is wasted on the young, or whatever the phrase is. But if I could go back to my 18-year-old self and like have a pep talk, I would, because the pressure for me was to perform, but mostly to stick to these layouts. You know?
You felt pressure.
But like I said, the whole you can't read the label when you're in the jar thing. I was on a show with Marat, and Marat had expressed how jealous he was that I got to work over Rob's layouts, where he had to put extra juice in and beat those layouts, because I got the easy job of putting aesthetics over already strong layouts, which in reality, that perception, I wish I had that perception, because it would have been a lot easier time for me, because for me, it was almost a square peg, round hole situation. Not that, like I said, I'm a huge Rob fan. I love it. Like the way he draws, especially a fan of that stuff. I mean, he was the first pro that gave me advice. And I think his sensibilities are incredible. That said, we're individuals, right? We all have our own sense of things, and some of those things were clashing. So my first job, as exciting and as big as it was, and how much spotlight was on it, was very sort of. It's like brand new shoes, you feel them. You're very aware of them. You can't just dance. You want to dance, but you're very aware of those shoes, and that's what it was.
Yeah, you got to break them in. I got to work off of Rob's layouts on a cable issue. I think it was cable 4 of the ongoing, and I was just working in the office one day at Extreme, and he came in. He's like, "I just want to get back in. I want to get back in. I want to do something with cable." And so then he said, "Would you mind if I did some layouts?" And I said, "Sure." And I know a little bit what you're talking about. Like, there was stuff like I wanted to veer from them, but I felt like it was almost like it was, who am I to try to like veer too far from these layouts? So I really didn't veer too far.
Well, there's an essence to them. In fact, hold on a second. I'm going to share this with the show, because it's actually pertinent to this discussion. I got to move these. I got these facial reference things that I enjoy. One's very masculine, and the other one has got like sort of feminine edges to it. But I have this one of those phony books. You've seen them in like detective stories,
Oh yeah.
And inside this phony book, I keep some of my treasures. So some of my treasures are Rob Liefeld layouts.
The herbs?
Oh, sweet.
No. I keep my herbs in a different place. But like, look, this is from X-Force, or not X-Force, New Mutants '99.
That is so tight. That is so freaking tight.
Right.
Like I can't do layouts that tight.
Yeah,
that
take a
size.
look. See, I've got all these amazing layouts. You know, these are all originals. I have them in these what do you call them? The top loaders.
Dude, you got to scan those in.
Yeah, no, I've got a bunch. I bought these off of Rob back in like 1990 when he did them. But you can see like here's the thing. These are very tight, and the method of Extreme Studios back in the day was there was a guy named George who would take these and blow them up on a Xerox copier, and he would lightly trace them. Very lightly, so you would have the layout in the big form, and then from that you would draw your page. But dude, if you're not used to drawing legs like that, and you're not used to drawing feet like that, and proportionally and layout wise, this head is here, but you draw legs differently, and your knee would be here. Suddenly you go, my foot would be here, but it doesn't work in the layout. There's a conflict that happens in your brain that goes, but I don't draw that way.
Well, I had that when I did the Deadly Duo stuff, and I think the Deadly Duo stuff with Eric Larson. Eric writes like Keith Giffen. He does layouts, but they're not that tight. I mean,
Giffen's awesome.
Yeah, but if you've seen Keith Giffen's layouts, that's what Eric's look like. So you've got tons of room to play. Nice.
We show it again.
Yeah, show it again.
Do you have any of yours?
Yeah. I'm going through all my stuff because we moved to Texas, so I'm packing and unpacking stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. Yeah. Who was that did all those?
Marlo Alquiza.
Marlo did. Yeah.
Marlo the Collector. He's got a channel on YouTube that's very popular where he talks about toy collecting.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he go legit? He became like a nurse or a doctor?
He was an RN.
Really?
Yeah, he said F comics. But he has, like I said, he has a YouTube channel called Marlo the Collector. You guys should follow it if you get a chance.
I have to check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I just dropped all my Frank Frazetta trading card set all over the floor.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I've been deep diving on Frazetta lately.
Okay.
My kids are like, who's Frazetta? Why does his name look like ours? I'm like, we have no Z's.
We have no
Z's, no T's. No Z's and no T's.
Yeah, that's right.
But you do have an F, so there you go.
We do F and an R and an A.
There you go. You got the first three.
Yeah.
Well, my first was probably early 80s, 81, 82, somewhere around there. And I started working with the great Jim Valentino. And it's funny because like Dan and I, like, it's so weird. Like there's so much connection, but it's not always like through like directly between Dan and I. Oh, look at that. Yeah. It's like, with what was his name? Brian Murray.
Oh, dude, I talk to Brian Murray every once a week, man. That's my dude. He's one of my mentors. What's
he up to now? I don't know him, but I know the name.
Oh, Brian has been storyboarding movies and commercials for a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for Brian Murray, I wouldn't be doing comic books, actually. So I was going to school. A teacher had Brian in the class, and so I'm everything I'm doing, like life drawing and stuff, like all the teachers go, this is very heightened. Like your aesthetic is amazing. Like you could take an ugly person and make them attractive, even life drawing. You know what I mean? Like it just happens naturally. So he was like, that's kind of like comic book. Like these are like really idealized figures. And I was like, oh, okay, I like comic books. He goes, well, I had a student, his name was Brian Murray, and he did comic books. And so he turned me on to Brian, and so then I started.
Who was your teacher?
Oh my gosh, it was
Marshall. Was it Marshall Vandruff?
No, this was Rio Hondo in Whittier. So this was
okay.
Yeah, I went. Okay. I took live drawing, believe it or not, with Rob Liefeld and Jim Valentino.
Yes.
And the best best part about it is they drew from a model exactly the way their comic book stuff looked. I'm not kidding. It was killer, man. It was so amazing. And the teacher was like, I still remember the teacher would go, draw what you see, not what you think you see. And then Rob's doing whatever, like whatever he wants, So Brian, I think, was working continuity with Neil Adams.
Like Miss Mystic or something like that?
It was Megalith? Is that what?
Oh, Megalith. Yeah.
Megalith, probably, yeah.
Yeah. And so then I would hang out with Brian, and then Brian turned me on to Jim Valentino, and we were all pot smokers back then, so it all kind of worked out.
What do you mean back then? I don't think Brian has ever stopped. I don't think he's ever stopped. I know I haven't.
I did. Not to say that I wouldn't, start up, but anyway, so yeah, I think it was Jim Valentino's studio. We would go up on the roof. It was in Fullerton, or I forget where it was, and then we would kind of light up and then go down and just talk comics, stuff like we're doing right now. And so then Jim Valentino needed an assistant. He was working on Normal Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I started Normal Man. I still think was way ahead of its time.
Was that the stuff? Was his wife Diane the wife at the time, Diane, doing all the lettering and everything?
Yeah, it was very much kind of like what we're doing now. It's like a family affair. I don't know how you guys work, but usually your wife or even some of your kids might, help out, from time to time. So yeah, so I started working with Jim, and then Jim started working for Apple Comics, which was the Wendy and Richard Kinney company.
Oh yeah, ElfQuest.
Oh, okay.
ElfQuest. Yeah, so we were doing Myth Adventures. We were adapting the Robert Asprin novels. And I got to meet Robert Asprin. And actually, when I first started dating my wife, I told her Myth Adventures. She was a fan of those novels. So she knows.
That's cool. You got credibility.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, when you date, your friends are always giving you advice like, don't talk about what you do for a living. Chicks aren't going to dig it. So, with Pamela, when I met her, I'm like, yeah, comic books. And she goes, oh, cool. I love the Fantastic Four and Superman. When I was a kid, I read all those books. And then we started talking about the Three Stooges, and it was like, oh, you see your eyes just light up. Like, oh, this is the perfect woman. Yeah, Three Stooges.
That's a win.
Yeah. So,
nice.
So yeah, I started working with Jim. Learned a shit ton from Jim.
He knows his stuff, man. He really does. A lot of people don't realize, one of my favorite Rob jobs, What If #7, What If Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That's all Jim Valentino layouts.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah, Jim knows his crap. And I remember we were talking about, perspective. And so what he started doing, because I started working over his pencil, so I was inking Myth Adventures, and he would put these tabs on the ends of the boards, and he'd find the vanishing points for me. So, I was having a hard time, like when you draw, sometimes it's a close-up, and you can't find the vanishing points because they're way off, the board, the art board.
Right.
So he would tape these flaps on, and he'd find the vanishing point for me. And so he taught me a ton. Just in perspective and all those, and I still remember them to this day. So my heart was always independent. So I was working with, oh my gosh, it was Denny Lobert, and she worked with, I think she was married to Dave Sim, and it was Renegade Press. And so I think, this was kind of more like underground stuff, but I remember the Indie Bug, I was hooked. And so, I'm working for Warp Graphics, and they just stopped kind of paying us. They would pay us in advance, and then they would pay the second off of the royalties, once the book, sold and they had money, and then they could pay the second half. Well, they just stopped paying the second half. So I never really wanted to go to the mainstream. I was pretty happy just doing, independent. And I was talking to Denny about doing my own creator-owned, stuff and things like that. And so I just had that reality. I like comic books. I like getting paid to draw. So I think I'm going to have to put a mainstream portfolio together. And so I just started drawing Marvel characters, DC characters, and I started shopping them around. And I got work. I got work at Marvel and DC on the same day. So I started working as an inker on this So I think I showed this the other day.
When did you start working on? Yeah, you did.
Oh,
you did.
yeah.
First time I had ever seen your stuff, Art, was in late 90, early 91. You were inking Dan Jurgens. And
that's what I remember too.
And I went, who the fuck is this guy? Because I'd seen Jurgens stuff before, and while I believe he is quite solid, there was an energy to his stuff. I never felt there was an energy. The second you started inking him, I'm like, there's this bounce. There's this, like, the stuff has energy now. And I was like, why? And it was you. That was the very first time I'd ever heard of the Thibert. But you were Thibert then.
Thibert then, yes.
You were Thibert.
Everybody.
Yeah, you were Thibert.
And now I'm the sexy bear. So there you go.
You are the sexy bear.
It's the full circle.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, yeah, it was almost like the mainstream happened because they paid on time. It wasn't even that they paid well. It's just that it was a steady paycheck.
Yeah, cadence is important.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back home and live with mom and dad. So, I started working Marvel DC. And so I got ink work at Marvel, and then I got pencil work at DC. So I started working on Who's Who pieces for DC. Mm-hmm. And then I started penciling Warlord. And the funny thing about Dan Jurgens, myself, and even the Thibert brothers is I think Dan started Warlord. I took over for Dan Jurgens. And then after that, the Thibert brothers took over for me. And then I think the book was maybe canceled or something. Or did you do some, Andy? Did you do Warlord? No. Yeah, it seems like everything I've worked on, Andy's been there somewhere, in my career. But yeah, so that was my first work, and I never looked back and always had work, man. I was so lucky in my career because you hear these stories, but I never went a month without work. Never.
Right.
Ever. So once I got hired, it was just steady from then on. So yeah,
it's badass.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. So do you guys have anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to start winding down a little bit, or what?
Yeah, I'm down for either. I can talk about comics until I get tired, and I don't get tired when I talk about comics. So it's a weird thing. It's like you ever see that thing where the guy notices toast always falls butter down, and that a cat always lands on his feet. So he tapes a piece of toast to a cat. I feel like that when it comes to talking about comics. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't,
that's why I always have to ask, because I could do the same, but I just want to make sure I don't burn everybody else out, because also I found some of these when I was going through the archives.
Let's see.
Yeah. So this, I inked a few.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Cores. Yeah. And I still have some of these pages. Like I still have the credit page because it's got my name on it. This is when lettering was right on the board, and I still can't believe my name's on credit with Walter Simonson. So I still.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Man, that's around the era when I hovered around you. As you remember, at the Cow Palace.
Yeah, the Cow.
That was the convention. It was a blend of things because it was you, Art Adams, Jim Lee.
Dude, I can't put it up better. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, John Romita Jr.
Did you ink it too,
man.
Yeah, this is my pencils and inks. Yeah.
Art, man,
nice.
you had a little different thing going on there.
I love Neil Adams and Romero. Yeah.
I see it.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude. That was also Bern Hogarth was at that convention.
Yeah, he was, and Romita Jr.
Yeah, that was the convention. Bern Hogarth.
I remember that.
He had drawn over all of my samples.
Oh, that's right. You told that story. Yeah, this is my first big break. So this was Teen Titans Spotlight.
Is that your cover?
Yeah, I got the pencil.
That's excellent, man.
And I remember like the script said jellyfish submarines, and I was like, how the hell do you draw a jellyfish submarine?
Looks like you did it though.
Yeah, so I remember going to the library because we didn't have internet. So I checked out every book I could find on jellyfish and stuff like that. So
that's very Neil. That's very, very
it's
Neil
really
right there.
It's really a Perro too. Who inked you on that?
That was me.
Oh, you inked it too?
And I did it all in 5 weeks. Like I penciled and inked the book in 5 weeks, and I was like, holy shit. And then I remember Barbara Randall was my
not Kessel.
Not Kessel, yeah. And then she goes, that's amazing. She goes, you penciled and inked this in 5 weeks. And I was like, is that amazing? She goes, yeah. So then I started getting more work. Yeah. But go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry. The Cow Palace.
Oh, no, dude. I'm just thinking about the good old days. It's just weird because the more I study the comics and the business, I'm realizing that there's this sort of baton thing going on. I don't want to call it a race, but like there's a baton thing where it's like, you find guys like talking to Roy and how he was influenced by Julie Schwartz, and you find out that Julie Schwartz was, in a sci-fi fanzine group with Mort Weisinger, and like that's how they got at DC. And you start looking at it and you go, dude, it's up to us to also hand the baton, like to help people out. I try to pay it forward, mostly because guys like Rob helped me out. He was the first guy that did that. But like there were a lot of guys like Neil Adams. Neil Adams was one of those guys. I was 15 years old, and he gave me words of advice in a very
Neil way.
In a very Neil way.
Yeah.
In a very Neil way. I had the opportunity to spend some time with a lot of great people. I wish I had a time machine. Like we were saying, the youth is wasted on the young, because in my lifetime, I've probably spent a good 30 hours with Bernie Wrightson, but never ever in the entire time that I hung out with him ever asked him about craft. Not once. And I hung out with Kurt Swan. I hung out with Dave Sim.
That's so cool, Kurt Swan.
But I'm saying, like, I feel like I go, shit, things happen the way they're supposed to. But the older I get and the more I study stuff, I'm like, God damn it. I wish I would have, because
when you were saying that, I got to ink Kurt Swan on a Superman splash page.
Yeah, there's a pinup.
Yeah, and I got to work with Steve Ditko on a Green Lantern.
Fuck.
And the thing is, like, I look back and I'm kind of glad I didn't have reverence for those guys at the time. Like, I almost had like, this is the old, like sort of like when you grow up, like you're a kid, just like, I'm not, because I was even like, I'm not going to listen to Beatles. The Beatles is crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
New stuff. And then you're listening to all the stuff that's contemporary to you. And then you realize when you get older, those guys were influenced by the Beatles, the people that you held in contempt. So then you go back and you listen to that stuff when you get older, and you're like, holy shit, man, the Beatles were amazing.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. And I've had the fortune to have spent the time with from your example, I've hung out with the Beatles, quote unquote,
right,
and had no fucking clue.
And you know what? It's good though, because I think I wouldn't have been as brave as I was, because I remember it was Mark Waid that was my editor on the Green Lantern Steve Ditko job, and he didn't have a lot of reverence for him either. And he goes, I kind of want you to be heavy-handed with him. He goes, like, do whatever you want. So, even then, like, people wanted to see, and I didn't know it at the time, but there was like, with the inks, they realized that I could kind of make things look different than the pen.
Art. You brought life into things.
Yeah, you're more of a finisher, and a guy like Ditko and even Swan and stuff need that.
Yeah.
And those are the type of pencils that I enjoy inking when I do ink anyhow, compared to the really tight stuff. You know, give me a Kurt Swan or somebody like that, you know.
Ditko came alive by inking himself. You know, the only great, well, let's just call him the GOAT, that I was able to ink back in '94. I got to ink Kirby on a Machine Man piece, and that was one of those things where it was a juxtaposition of thoughts, like, how dare I, you know, like that was a thought. How dare I even fucking touch it? But then there was the spirit of Jack would say, dance, motherfucker, you know? no, like, you know, that's what, so that's what I did. And like, I try to put some of me in there and some of him in there. But it becomes almost a scary thing.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I got to ink Kirby for that. Remember that Heroes and Villains black and white?
That's the same thing. That's the same project, Andy. Same project.
I inked Kirby in that too.
That was 90. That was 94.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I think Tomorrow's did a book, and they were like a retrospect. They were looking back on that book, and I think that who was it? I can't remember the other guy, but there were two pieces. There was mine, and there was holy shit, I can't remember his name now. I think he did the Iron Man piece. I should know this. He did Superman when I was doing. He was doing the main Superman book. Holy crap, what's his name?
Dennis Janke, Dennis Rodier.
No, it was the penciler. He was writing it as well.
Oh, Jerry Ordway.
Jerry Ordway, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and Jerry Ordway's Iron Man, I think, were they said were the standout pieces in that book. So I didn't know you guys both worked on that too. So Dan, you did.
Dude,
I did Machine Man.
Machine Man.
Oh,
what did you do?
You got a cool one. Oh, I got it was some chick that was and when I say related, I don't mean as in blood relation, but in relation to the Falcon. She was just sitting at a desk, and I think behind her was like a portrait of the Falcon, you know, a headshot of him. So
that's pretty cool, but I see what you're saying.
It wasn't a super cool one, but still I got to ink Kirby. And then Bart did one. I can't remember which one Bart did. Sears. And then they gave us a Challengers of the Unknown, and Bart inked 2 of the figures and I inked 2 of the figures.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty cool.
When a Challengers of the Unknown.
Challengers is dope.
You have 2 pieces or a piece and a half in that.
Piece and a half, yeah.
Okay, do you guys remember we had to write up, like, there was a quote by each one of the artists, right?
Yeah. I don't remember my quote. I don't even remember it.
My book upstairs on my bookshelf. So
mine was, I don't even have mine. I don't even know if I ever got one. But mine was like, you know, some people think of the Falcon as just a sidekick. And then I wrote, but I think of him as very much his own hero.
Or he's his own hero, damn it.
Yeah.
I like the Falcon, dude.
I kind of felt like you did, though, Andy. Like, I was like, the Falcon? Really?
Oh, dude, I would have loved doing the Falcon.
To do that,
but I was happy dude, I'm a huge Machine Man fan, so I was very happy. I was very happy. Machine Man's
awesome.
I remember the Machine Man piece because he's all extended, right? He's
got his it's like this arm is coming out like this.
Right at you, yeah.
It's sort of a down shot and he's coming at you, yeah. And the thing that was really strange is you know, I got to meet Kirby back in '89 at the San Diego Comic-Con, and then when I came to Extreme, a bunch of us were able to go down to visit with Jack a few times, and he had passed away on February of '94. I think it was February 4th or February 6th. My dates get a little smashy, but it was definitely early February '94. I remember doing that Machine Man piece within days of him passing.
Yeah.
And that was also why I was very much like hearing him say, dance, you know, like just do it, you know.
What was the one quote? My favorite quote. He never said this to me directly, but somebody told me. Like, you get all these legends, right? You get all these quotes that everybody tells the next generation and so forth.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then somebody asked Jack, it's like, you don't seem to erase. He goes, I don't get paid to erase. I get paid to draw.
That's a famous one. That's a famous one. Yeah.
And then he did say this to me. We were at a party at San Diego Comic-Con, and I asked him, like, how do you write stories? How do you come up with them? He's like, everything has to have an anchor. Everything has to seem real. He said, even if it's Galactus, even if it's these far out ideas, he said, there always has to be some kind of truth, some kind of relatability to them. He said, always find that. Find like something that happened to you, or that your friend, or an experience that you had. He said, always share that in your storytelling, in your character development. He said, then it's always going to connect. So no matter how far out the idea is, as long as you have that at its core, it's always going to connect with people. And I always remember that. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's solid, very solid information.
That's right.
And then another one was, this was another time he shared a war story with, I wish I could say it was just me, but it was a group of guys. And he said it was Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, or it was one of these like big, like holidays. And so I think he was saying that he and his guys were in this barn, and they were trying to hold it, like, so they had cover and stuff like that. And then I want to say the Nazis, I don't remember how old he is actually, but they're trying to take this location because it's just about gaining ground. That's all that wars are, is like merging forward or marching forward. And so he said it was just freezing cold. It was cold, and everybody just, it wasn't even about like killing, the enemy. It was just like surviving the cold. And so then I forget how he said it happened, but they just kind of stopped fighting, and they just kind of hung out like for that evening or whatever it was. And he said, some of those guys had extra boots, and his guys were like, my dad fought in war too. He said the thing is, you always want to protect your feet, because he has bad feet, or had bad feet from the war, after the war. He said, cold and wet and stuff like that. So I always remember that. So when he said, like, the enemy came over and they had extra boots, and they were giving them to, his guys and stuff like that, had, holes in the soles or whatever it was. And I always remember that. I was like, there's humanity even, when you're trying to kill each other. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of sworn enemies, and you're, in an hour or two, you're going to be trying to kill each other. But at that moment in time, they were, trying to keep, trying to bring some kind of comfort to each other, just for, a few hours. And I always remember that. I think he said that, I believe that was a party in San Diego too. I don't know if you guys remember San Diego Comic-Cons in the day. They were so freaking cool. You could hang out with Mobius. You could hang out with Speed. Like, they were all, Carl Barks. They were all there. Like, you could just like walk up and just hang out with them. And there was no pretense, and there was no like, I'm only going to be here on the floor for an hour, that type of thing. Right. Those guys all.
My very first San Diego Comic-Con ever was the last year that it was at the old center downtown. You remember that one?
The Civic Center, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first San Diego Comic-Con. That's where I met Jack. That's like, I met Jack there, and I met Chuck Rosansky, the Mile High guy. That was the first time I ever met Chuck. Was at that show. So it was kind of cool to witness the last vestige of that. And then I remember 91, the first year it was at the new hall, and it was hall A, B, and only a part of C.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was the biggest thing ever, even with that. Now it's all of it, A through K. It's A through K now, but like,
it's not even all of it now. It's the whole gas lamp area. Like, it's all of downtown San Diego, which is pretty much the convention, which is also why I don't go anymore, because
I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have YouTube now.
Hey Dan,
That's
do you
right.
remember driving right up to the Marriott, which is right next door to the convention center, and just be able to like fling your keys at the valet and then check in that night?
One of my favorite nights of all time. Like this will be like a rosebud moment when I die. It was San Diego Comic-Con '95. I ran into Steranko in the lobby of the Marriott, and I got to talk to him for 5 fucking hours. And he showed me magic tricks. He told me about his history in jazz, living next to Miles Davis. He told me about all of his escape. You know, he was a Houdini type guy.
Yep.
All these things, and like I was glued, you know. And I remember thinking like, dude, I got to hang out with fucking Steranko, you know. And also like, what do they call it? BarCon. You know, you finish and you go to the top, and like that was the place to be if you could get in, you know. And the parties, you know, the parties were crazy. But yeah, now it's so like it's like what mainstream comics have turned into, you know. It's like, you know, when you could go to the Wildstorm party, but now it's not the Wildstorm party, it's the Netflix party, and good luck getting in, even if you fucking created the show or storyboarded the show or whatever, you know.
It's elitist. Yeah, it's elitist, and it's not really very comic book friendly, like for artists like ourselves. I do remember this was in New York, where there were just guys hanging out, and it was Johnny Romita Sr., and he said, I'm going to take a bunch of people out to dinner. So there's just some guys there, took us out. His wife met him at the restaurant, and I got to hang out all night with Johnny Romita Sr. with his wife. It's crazy.
That is so awesome.
And he bought dinner.
That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
So how about you,
Andy?
Guys, I'm an East Coast guy.
What's that?
You must have better stories because you're an East Coaster.
I mean, when I first got in, Marvel was still doing the Christmas party, so they would send invites to pretty much everybody because, you know, they figured, hey, if you want to pay for your own travel to come up to New York City for the Christmas party, have at it. So I went to like 3 or 4 of those. That was the only time I met Stan, was at one of those. He was there. And the Christmas parties were nice. There were nice hotels. And I remember one, you know, you had like Captain, you know, somebody dressed up as like Captain America and some of the X-Men walking around. And there was one where they had the video game set up in one portion of the hotel ballroom. You know, obviously they were all set up for free, so you could play video games and stuff. Those were fun Christmas parties, and I was living in Orlando, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to go up to those. I get an invite to a Marvel Christmas party. Damn right, I'm going to go. I'll pay my way. I don't care. So that was...
Do you remember the Great Eastern Comic Cons? Do you remember, was it Fred Harris?
I know what you're talking about, but I never went to any of those. I know what you're talking about. I can vividly remember the ads. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the big shows before the new, because now they have the big, Javits Center. But this was still at the Javits Center. And it was
actually, I did go to a couple of those. I didn't go as a guest, but I went. So I do remember those at the Javits Center. Yeah.
Those were a blast too. I got to meet a lot of people there. I think I met Jay Lee for the first time. Jay Lee, and there was this guy. He had just created this show called Beavis and Butthead.
Mike Judge.
Mike Judge, yeah. And the 3 of us are sitting at this table, right? And so we had just, I think Hellshock had just come out in black and white. Come out. Well, I think they were coming out. So at the time, you do these ash cans to promo. Did you ever have a Black Flag promo, Dan?
I have an ash can. I sure do.
Do you, Andy, for any of your creator own?
Not for my stuff, but I think Larson did an ash can that had some Deadly Duo pages in it as well. Okay. It was like a mashup ash can. There were some Deadly Duo pages, maybe some Wildstar. I think that was the book that Ordway and Al Gordon did.
Yeah.
And then maybe some Savage Dragon in it. because I think I still have a few of them. So
yeah. So we did our
and they were black and white.
Yeah, they're all black and white. And if you guys don't know, they're like half of like an 8x11, and it's folded, and then it's all printed on black and white. Somebody told me the reason they're called ash cans is because they were like printer proofs or something like that. Yeah, there's one right there.
There you go. Yeah, that's an ash can.
Yeah. So, Dan, hold it again.
They're 8.5x11 folded in half.
Yeah, it's a sheet folded in half, and the cover's a little. I think it's even the interiors are a little bit. Oh wait, got more. Oh
there you go.
Even got some lettering on there.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think Jay Lee had his. I had one, and I think it was sponsored by Fat Jack's. Do you remember Fat Jack's in Philadelphia?
I don't know.
And then I think Great Eastern was sponsoring it as well. So we were all kind of lined up there. And then like Mike Judge was the odd guy out. Like he didn't quite fit in. And so I think these ash cans were given away free or something. Like there was some kind of gimmick.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, and so everybody just ransacked the aisle. So this is like when like Image Mania was happening, when like it just the beginning of all this craziness. And so Jay Lee and I were just overwhelmed. Like there was crazy lines everywhere. And so Mike Judge is just kind of looking over like, what's up with these guys, right? And so then we didn't get to finish the show there because they had to separate us, like we were like, unruly kids, in school, and they had to separate us so that we could stop acting out. And so Jay and I were brought into different sections of the con so that they could, I guess, for fire, like safety and stuff like that. Yeah. But the sad thing is, I didn't get to hang, like, how like you become con friends with people, like if it's 3-day show or whatever, it's like serving time in a war or something, like you're in the trenches, right? And you get to know people. And I always regret, like, that was Mike Judge, man. And we like all bailed on the guy.
And when you work on a movie and you work on location and you create that little atmosphere, they're called location ships.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Or showcation ships for show business.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
All right, I'm going to bail. My iPad is about to die.
It's good seeing you. You guys back first, man.
Yes.
Yes, Eddie.
Yeah, go back first, man, and go check out Alien Alamo. And there's Black Flag. You're still in demand, right, Dan?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Go back that book. We got Chrono Mechanics still in demand. I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do with that. I'm thinking maybe I should close it up or add some T-shirts or something to that shop there. But anyways, there's a bunch of books, you guys, bunch of great books, bunch of great people creating these things for you. So go check them out. Next time we do one of these shows, I'll make sure that we all get our Indiegogos in there in the descriptions. Yeah. And so who's going to host this show next, or are we going to do this?
We'll figure it out. Yeah,
we'll figure it out. We got time.
We got
a week.
Yeah, we also have to figure out a name. So
that's right.
I wrote some down. So I'll.
How about
hats and halos?
How about Scroto Baggins and the Shire?
And the
Scroto Baggins.
That sounds like a punk band,
Scroto Baggins.
None of us are cool enough for that. Well, Dan is.
Well, Dan's way cool. Yeah.
Dan's way cool. He's the youngest one, so
That's it. It's just, but it's a perspective thing because I'm old around here. I'm the old guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, of course.
Well, around here I'm the old guy, so there you go. All right, man. Well, we're going to try to do this weekly. We have there's 6 of us, so there's Andy, there's Dan, there's Billy Tucci, there's Aaron Lopresti, there's Graham Nolan. Am I missing anybody? There's myself.
That's 4 balds and 2 hairs.
That's right.
4 balls. I thought you said balls.
Yeah, 4 nuts. 4 nuts.
4 nuts.
Yeah, actually, there's 12. There's actually 12, unless somebody has something going on we don't know
into
about.
12.
You always have to go there, Andy. You always have to go dark, don't you? Andy just
12 nuts. Just call it the 12 Nut Show.
There you go. The 12 nuts.
Dozen nuts.
The Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen. Well,
what's great is people go, but there's only 6. But you go, are there?
are there?
Do the math. It's all guys.
The
So
Dirty
do the math.
Dozen. That's fucking beautiful.
Well, you know, if we go Dirty Dozen, that Graham is definitely going to be all about that.
Oh hell yeah, Peck and Paw is the shit, dude. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I also want, like, whatever we come up with, like, it's got to look cool on T-shirts, because I want T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks
All
for
right,
coming
guys.
in. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Go check out these
thank you
books,
all.
and we'll see you hopefully next week with
All
the
right.
same type of garbage.